Hey gang, greetings to you. Welcome back to Mzantsi and USA News. Is that silly season once again, the season of elections? Therefore, we will be listening to some political mudslinging from one party to the other, where dishonorable politicians like Fikile Mbalula and President Ramaphosa will be making assertions which are unfounded in many instances, so as to hold on for dear life to the votes of the masses of our people. Now, the Citizen has this article. Rise Mzantsi Rubbishes Mbalula's claims on regime change sponsors. Rise Mzantsi has accused ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula of trying to cause chaos and confusion among South Africans by discrediting Rise Mzantsi and casting aspersions on mandate of the party. In the press briefing on Thursday, Mbalula questioned the existence of Rise Mzantsi and its possible links to foreign governments with an interest in regime change. Now, this is rather quite interesting because none of them have ever questioned the loyalty of President Ramaphosa to this country. I have asked this question repeatedly without any answer. If Cyril Ramaphosa was given a mandate to destroy South Africa, what would he have done differently from the time he took over on February 15, 2018 up until now? Consider everything that Cyril has done, such as closing shop with so many businesses. More than 1.2 million SMMEs closed shop. More than 4 million jobs were lost, contrary to the lies and the propaganda of the African National Congress. I'm talking about permanent jobs here. Nevertheless, let's get back to the article. Rise Mzantsi calls for competition. In a statement, Rise Mzantsi said Mbalula's comments did not aid democracy and fair competition among competing parties. You'll forgive the noise, I'm recording this basically outside. As South Africa's political establishment reads the tea leaves, which indicate its political demise through the ballot, it will employ all number of tactics which include lies, instilling fear in the electorate, creating confusion, or in the extreme employ the services of an agent provocateurs to cultivate an environment of chaos, the party said. Now, ANC accused of playing dirty. According to Rise Mzantsi, the ANC is in a panic over the upcoming elections and is using desperate measures to discredit other political parties. In the bid to the national and provincial elections and without a legitimate message, the lies have already started, the party said. Rise Mzantsi also lambasted the party's president for his remarks during the ANC 112th birthday celebrations, where he told supporters that should South Africa not vote for the ANC back into power, there was no certainty that essential programs such as National Student Aid, NAFSAS, would continue. You see, those are desperate measures by desperate folks. It was President Cyril Ramaphosa who first stood up and tried to make South Africans believe that a new and ethical government would bring an end to necessary social protection interventions like the National Student Financial Aid Scheme and South Africa's Social Security Agency grants, the party said. Despite this, Rise Mzantsi said South Africans were smart enough to make a well-informed decision about who to vote for in the upcoming elections. Well, I'm not a politician, so I would disagree with Rise Mzantsi here. I think that many South Africans are completely uninformed and they are going to vote based on their emotions and their skin color and once again keep the African national cancer in power. I'm not a politician, so I don't have to be diplomatic about these issues. I'm very concerned about who most South Africans are going to vote for because our country is in decline, and the reason why it's in decline is because South African voters do not know how to vote. They vote based on racism, and they are majority in this country. They are destroying our own, their very own country by the stupid votes that they exercise. And yes, I can say that because I'm not begging anyone to vote for me. Let's continue with the story. Despite, okay, I read that South Africans are smarter than this, so the political establishment has moved on to further lies by stating that there is a program of so-called regime change, the party said. The ANC is not only party to accuse Rise Mzantsi of being funded by foreign countries. EFF, President Julius Malema, also questioned the funding model of Rise Mzantsi in a media briefing a few weeks ago. Says a guy who's founded by white monopoly capital to establish a political party and to register it for elections. What you call Julius Malema, Ahmed. I don't think Rise Mzantsi or any other political party should pay attention to those people. However, the environment in which we are at, we have a lot of illiterate, voters in this country. When I'm saying illiterate, I mean it. They may be highly educated and degreed more than thermometers, but when it comes to politics and how to vote, they are completely clueless. As a result, they are slowly but surely systematically bringing South Africa into a Zimbabwe situation because of their stupidity in voting. Now let's continue. But Rise Mzantsi responded to the allegations, saying the party is funded by patriotic South Africans who wanted to see a change in their country. The party has also indicated that it would be transparent to the Electoral Commission of South Africa about its donors. Okay, well, that's the end of the story here. Well, I guess Rise Mzantsi should obviously brace itself because this is going to happen over and over again. Let me show you something else. So I want you to listen attentively to what Cyril Ramaphosa has to say here, because the issue of regime change is a political propaganda of the African National Congress, just like the issue of the grants will cease should a different government come to power, or apartheid will come back if the DA were to take power, or who are you going to vote for if you don't vote for the ANC? Well, if people are stupid enough to vote for a government that allows a country to descend into number one in rape in the world, and they are proud of that, a country that has caused this country to be number 3 in murder in the world, ahead of the very Gaza that they sought to defend, that Gaza experiencing genocide. Gaza is not in the top 10 of murder rate. We are number 3, ahead of Afghanistan, that has been in war with America for 20 solid years. So if people are stupid enough to go and vote for these ideologues, these communists, which are also Luciferians, then, well, have at it. It's your country, it's your vote, okay? Ultimately. Hence, I quickly disagreed with Rise Mzantsi when they are saying South Africans informed than that. No, they are not. How do you keep this bunch of communists in power for so long if South Africans were informed? Mbeki said it in Pulugwane. You vote for Jacob Zuma, you'll have chaos. So why are people wondering why are we having the chaos that we have? We have the chaos that we have because we voted for criminals into power. That's why. And it doesn't matter how you seek to argue, blah, 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 blah. All of them, the ANC together with the Red Berets, all of those individuals, Luciferians who are completely immoral and unethical, and they do not serve the interests of South Africa. I can go into extreme detail of this. I have no intention of making a long video. The point I want to make here is this. The person who started the lie of regime change is Ramaphosa himself. They have discussed this in the ANC, NEC, and part of the way in which they are going to try to hang on to power is by even rigging the elections. So the political parties that are contesting these elections have to be extremely careful and deploy as many of their representatives as possible. And they should not agree to automation of vote counting, because if they do, then they are doomed. The African National Congress will simply use the same method that Joe Biden won, and I'm putting that in parentheses, the American elections. Okay? Now let's get to the story then. Listen to this.
Diplomatic ties between South Africa and Israel are very frosty after the International Court of Justice provisional judgment. Last Friday, the ICJ ordered Israel to take measures to prevent and to punish direct incitement of genocide in the Gaza Strip. The ANC is on high alert for possible attempts of regime change in South Africa by Israel. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says he expects a full-blown fight back from the Israelis.
The fight back may also focus on our domestic politics and our electoral outcomes in order to pursue a regime change agenda. Now, some people have said this was a David and Goliath type of contest. So we must be aware that whilst we have done what we believe was driven by our conscience and our principles. And whilst we also went and did the right thing and take this matter to the courts that were set up by those who were there in 1948 or so as they set up that court, we are being blamed for taking the matter to the very court that they set up. We didn't take this case to a kangaroo court.
Ramaphosa, however, says he...
So now you know where the story of the regime change comes from. It comes from the liar-in-chief, Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa. So now you know that they are trying to convince the voters. Now remember, these individuals are communists. Don't be deceived by the colors that they are wearing. Hitler's propagandist, Goebbels, once or rather is known to have made this statement as it is documented. Tell people a lie long enough, they will believe it. So the ANC knows how to propagandize the populace. So they are going to repeat this over and over again and create an impression that Israel has an ability to rig our elections. Meanwhile, they are the ones that have been rigging elections for years. You tell me, how have they been winning elections with so much disfavor? They've fallen out of favor from a lot of us as South Africans. I don't know any reasonably prudent South African that wants to vote for the ANC except for the morons. The question then is, how have they been winning any elections? How? Please tell me, how have they been winning elections? So the only conclusion one can come to is to say they've been winning elections because they've been rigging elections. In fact, Julius Malema in 2016, not 2016, in 2018, he complained about this. Either 2016 or 2018, my memory doesn't serve me, if my memory serves me well, between those two elections. Julius Malema is on record complaining about rigged elections. Helen Zille as well has gone on public and even demonstrated evidence where their ballot papers were found in a field that they were thrown instead of being counted. And these were legitimate ballots. You get the point? So hence I'm saying, Rise Mzantsi and all the opposition parties in their coalition activity of trying to restore governance, good governance, of trying to take the rand back into its former glory, of trying to ensure that we've got a rules-based order in South Africa, not the New World Order of Ramaphosa and the globalist, that is seeking to mass incarcerate you once again, like Ramaphosa did in 2020 under a guise of an unseen, COVID, unseen disease. No, not that one, but a rules-based order where we have law and order. Our roads, national roads and provincial roads are maintained, and you berate corruption from the state apparatus. You use the taxpayers' money for its intended purpose. You send South Africans to school. You get them more educated so that people can partake in the democratic state intellectually, so that people can participate and understand the constitution. Right now, the masses of the people are being used as cannon fodder by the African National Congress. They are just nothing but cattle that will vote them into power and then receive absolutely nothing. The ANC has disdain for the very people that elects them into power, and that is why they obviously have to leave. So I thought I should make this video just to say, hey, be warned, there is no such a thing or plan of regime change. It's just a lie of the comrades who are seeking to hold on to power by whatever means necessary. Ramaphosa and his comrades are desperate because in every sphere where they go to, they can see that the mood has changed. They can feel the thermometer doesn't feel the same. The temperature is not in the same. You wear an ANC shirt, people don't receive you the same way as they did in the previous year, in yesteryears. Okay? Nobody has a regard for the African National Congress. And believe you me, I meet a lot of people. South Africans are angry. How can a country that was lawful, as South Africa was under Mbeki, and was growing by 6%, could have descended into being number one in rape in the world? And the ANC claims that they are empowering women. Is this how you empower women? 2 out of every 4 men are rapists in South Africa, yet you don't have death penalty. How does that make sense? And you still want to hold on to power. Murder rate is so high. There are areas which have become a no-go zone like Deep Sloot, like Oliven, like Mamelodi in the evenings, like Tembisa. If you go into these areas, you know you are going to be robbed, or at least you stand a 50% chance of being robbed, and worse still, of being murdered for your own possession, a simple thing like a cell phone. This is what happens when you have a political organization that is obsessed with power and it remaining in power, yet it is completely incompetent. Look at the bunch of individuals who are called ministers. What is the qualification to be a minister? Some of them are old, some of them are just useless bunch that are sitting there doing absolutely nothing and looking pretty. And this is complete nonsense. Whilst youth who have ideas, who have qualifications, who are degreed more than a thermometer, could be running this country to its former glory and make South Africa what it was meant to be. South Africa has been endowed with natural mineral resources by God, which we need to use for our beneficiation, our coal to stop the disaster that Ramaphosa and his cronies are engineering of load shedding, which, by the way, is deliberate. We don't have a crisis of load shedding. We have a self-engineered crisis of load shedding. And the quicker South Africans wake up to this, which I doubt very much, hence I'm saying people are just going to waste their vote once again and vote for this African national cancer or this African national criminals. Okay, guys, that's it. I just wanted to make a video to comment on the issue of the so-called redeem change and show you the new strategy that they are coming up with. And they're going to come up not only with this strategy. Remember, they are very good in propaganda. The African National Congress is very good in propaganda. They have convinced South Africans that they've liberated them when there was no such an activity that took place. Right? And many South Africans believe this. And if you want me to make a video to tell you how this country became a democracy, I would gladly do so. But there was no liberation here that took place. No, there is no bunch of terrorists like Mkhonto Wesizwe that could have defeated what we call the South African National Defence Force. Not at all. No, 1,000 times no. That's a lie they've been telling for years. And they've been telling you how Afrikaners are racist, right? The same Afrikaners that in 1993 voted in a referendum, yes, black people should be allowed to vote. That's how we got our vote in 1994. Not because of some liberation. No. There was a yes or no referendum engineered by F.W. de Klerk, the racist, and I'm putting that in parentheses. He crisscrossed this country, campaigning to be voted as a president of the Nationalist Party on the ticket of releasing political prisoners. And these white Afrikaners who hate black people went and voted for F.W. de Klerk, knowing fully well he was going to release these political prisoners that they hated, that they wanted in prison. Make that make sense. And then, furthermore, after he kept his end of the bargain, he released the Sisulus and them in 1989. In 1990, he released Nelson Mandela. And then de Klerk crisscrossed the country again. To do what? To say to white people, who were the only ones who were allowed to vote, let's vote. Let's have a referendum. Let's vote yes or no. If you want black people to have a right to vote, say yes. If you don't, say no. And de Klerk made it clear he was there, yes. And he crisscrossed this country campaigning his own kind, his own people, to say black people should be allowed to vote. And they knew, the Afrikaners, that they were minority in the country. And if they say black people should be allowed to vote, they would lose their power, they would lose their privileges, yet they still went ahead and voted yes. And these people are racist. My question is, who taught them racism? Huh? Who taught them racism? Either they are racist or the ANC is a liar. The EFF is a liar. And I go with the latter. Both the ANC and the EFF, because the EFF is an extension of the ANC, do not be deceived. They are the radicalized extension of the ANC, regardless of what they tell you publicly. Okay? There's no difference between the two. Why? They have something in common. They are both Leninist Marxists who are seeking, godless Leninist Marxists who are seeking to do nothing but destroy our country. Okay? Nevertheless, guys, I just could not resist to get into that fray because the ANC has lied long enough to you. It's time for the lies to be destroyed. And we destroy the lies by telling the truth. I hope you've listened to the video to the end. That way you can objectively criticize it. And if indeed you want me to go deeper into how we were liberated, I certainly can tell you. There was no liberation that took place here by reason of the African National Congress. South African National Defence Force is known to have raided the camps of the ANC in Harare. Why? Because there was no state in Harare under Mugabe that would have been able to defeat South African National Defence Force. South African National Defence Force was the strongest army in Africa. They had a nuclear weapon. They, apart from the nuclear weapon, they could hold their own against some of the best in the world. I'm not saying they were the best in the world, but there was no one in Africa who was going to be able to defeat them. So how has the ANC liberated them? Liberated us. And then they forget to tell you, the US, whom they call the West today, that they want us to hate, sanctioned the government of apartheid. The UK, whom they want us to hate, sanctioned the government of apartheid. The China that they want us to emulate was busy selling arms to the government of apartheid. And so was the Russia that they are in love with, was doing exactly the same. That is why you need to read books, because otherwise you will be voting based on emotion, and emotion would lead this South Africa to be like Venezuela, or worse still, to be like Cuba, that Naledi Pandor wanted to give 50 million last year of our tax money. Why must Cuba receive our money? When Castro in 2016 died worth 100 million US dollars, which is an equivalent of 2 billion rands. Right? That was the president that was wearing green overalls in parliament. Meanwhile, according to his bodyguard of 40 years, he was living a schizophrenic life. Publicly, he was wearing green overalls and long beard. Privately, he was eating sushi and drinking the most expensive cocktail and wines and so on and so forth. Which reminds me of a certain group in our parliament that are wearing red berets, but privately they are wearing Gucci, they are wearing what we call Louis Vuitton and wristwatches that are worth more than 200,000. You people need to wake up. This video obviously started with the propaganda of the ANC, but I'm obviously added as I wanted to, and I can. Okay, I can. It's my channel. You are welcome to disagree. You are welcome to agree in the notes below. But those are my opinions. Those are my views. The ANC, once again, is lying to the citizens of South Africa. I'll talk about the ICJ victory in a different video completely, not on this one. I just needed to use this video to support the thesis that I began with, that Ramaphosa and his NEC have gone on a propaganda strategy to lie once again to South Africans. Okay, guys, that's my lot. Cheers. Hopefully I'll see your comments down below, engaging, because I'll just delete them if they are just mere insults, like some idiots from EFF normally comes to this channel just to spew vomit. I'll certainly delete that. I'm not here on a popularity contest. I'm old enough to know what's good for our country, and the ANC is not good for our country. I'm old enough to know that the EFF is not good for our country. I'm a father of children whom I would love for them to grow in a better country than South Africa has now become under Zuma as well as Ramaphosa. It's just that simple. The ANC was once a very good political party. It led in a manner that was prosperous for the country at some point in time. But all of that ceased at some point in time. And the sitting president of the African National Congress, Thabo Mbeki, told us this was going to happen. It has since been held descent since Thabo Mbeki left that office. Okay, guys, that's it. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now.